Good morning and happy Monday, everybody. It's my lucky day. So, Nathaniel, within the first 30 seconds. So, I hope everyone had a great weekend. And I could not be more excited about our session today. Legit, keep it or cut it is one of, I would say, all of your favorite sessions that we've ever done as a coaching group. And the overwhelming response when we did it in the morning session was, Chirag, can we please do another session all day on this? So I'm just going to jump into it. And I'll just give you like a quick PSA from a learn from reality experience that I had. If you have not taken the time to back up your computer, please do so. Backing up your computer on iTunes or Google Drive or something is really simple. We had our whole team here last Friday. I went to turn on my computer. Needless to say, no matter how much RAM, storage, and fun stuff I added, it did not turn on. So if you have not backed up your computer, just take a moment and one, block 30 minutes off. Two, ask yourself the simple question. If my computer disappeared today and I could not use it, what would happen to my life, my client's life, and the amount of stress that I would have? So that is a quick thing to think about. And let's get started. This is one of my favorite quotes. People who want to get things done find a way. People who don't want to do things, find excuses. So I'll say it again clearly. People who want to get things done find a way. People who don't want to do things find excuses. Either way, the choice is yours. Now, an interesting concept I've been sharing with you and I've shared with my kids is how much time you really have in a day. So if you sleep between 6 to 8 hours a day, you have between 16 and 18 hours in a day. Now, teaching these kinds of concepts to young children, it's almost be careful what you wish for. Because now it's like, Daddy, we have 2.5 hours. We have 4 hours. You know how much stuff we could do in that time? And if you cut out your phone, you cut out the distractions, and you really just get focused and present, the amount of stuff that you can do in a day is incredible. So we sent over this financial expense sheet and dashboard, and I encourage all of you to take the time to do it. Invest the time. Because just as easy it is to do it, it's just as easy to make an excuse. And the question that you want to ask yourself is, who do you really want to be? Now, accountability sessions. We've gotten great feedback. Hundreds of you attended accountability sessions last week. I highly encourage you to attend them this week. Kate and Megan are going to be going over the expense sheet, filling it out, and really understanding those numbers. Butch and Sydney are going to do a session on bulk email. The live prospecting was great. We got feedback that people got business from the calls that they made. And I highly suggest going into role playing with Justin, because you can never spend too much time on how to effectively communicate with your clients. Now let's go through today's roadmap. Core 4 in agent spending. I want to break down the 4 segments where agents spend money and where you could really find money in your budget. Keep it or cut it and live examples. Keep it or cut it is essentially a segment where you're going to be able to share what you spend money on and ask us some questions. Should I keep it or cut it? Now, this is a good opportunity as an agent to practice being clear and concise and direct to the point. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you spend money on? I spend money on Zillow. How much money do you spend? What do you get out of it? What do you track? And we'll go through this. And by the end, we either say keep it or cut it. And we'll go through live examples of doing it, as it's the best way to learn. And every time we do this, the chat box just blows up. These people, I spend money on this. Here's feedback on this. Reach out to me. I can help you with these leads. I do them. It's a really collaborative and fun exercise. And as we start going through this together, what I need all of us to understand is we need to build up our foundation, because that's essentially what we've done, right? If you've gone back the last few weeks, you realize we started with data, right? Understanding our data. Where does our business come from? What percentage of our GCIs should be sourced? How do we spend money in connection with that? What are our daily KPIs around money? And now we're going to understand how to cut money out of our budget. Now, here are the core 4 areas that agents spend money on: lead generation, marketing, branding, social media, leverage, and subscriptions. Now, we are not going to talk about cutting money and adding stuff like how you do listing marketing. It shouldn't really be a conversation like how much less we can offer a client, right? That's not really what we want to focus on. These are the 4 areas that I find agents spend the most money and ultimately have the most fat. But now, as you're doing this, I want to teach you guys now how to think through doing this, right? So hit the word confusing in chat if someone gives you a budget and then tells you to cut stuff, and then you really don't know how to think through it, you don't know how to do it, and then you kind of get stuck. Let me get an idea of where you all are. I realize right now that I normally just type yes or no, so confusing. It's going to take time to type this out. Confusing, but trying. Yeah, many of us say this. So look, I'm going to teach you guys today how to think through this, and then we'll get into keep it or cut it. Lead generation. Now, these are things like I'll use a simple example like Zillow. Now, number one, if you're spending, change that word to investing. If you're investing money into generating leads, number one, you need to track everything. What is your customer acquisition cost? What does it cost to get a customer? How many leads do you have, right? So let's walk through Zillow. If I'm paying for Zillow, the first thing I want to know is I want to know how many leads I get. How quickly am I responding? How many conversations am I having on the phone versus how many active emails do I have? How many touch points does it take to create an appointment? How many of those appointments write offers? How many of those offers go into contract? How many of those contracts become a closing? Do you see how this all goes? You need to track all of this. So at the end of it, you can say, all right, I spend X amount of money and I get Y in return. So if you could say you spent $2,000 a month for 6 months, it's $12,000 you spent, and you got one closing, it was $24,000. Now, if you're not tracking everything, you don't measure what matters and you cannot make the right decision based on facts, not feelings. Now, if you're doing geographic farming, how much money are you spending every month? How many homes are you hitting? How many people respond to you? How many appointments have you gone on? How many listings have you taken? How many listings have you sold? They're all metrics around all of these different things. Now, if you're not tracking everything here, how effectively are you measuring your ROI? And here's the amazing part that I find. And now remember, when we talk about keep it or cut it and going back to our actual budgets, look at lead generation, which is essentially cold leads, correct? Now, I want you to go back and look at your data sheet and look at what percentage of those cold leads equal your total business, and then what percentage equals your GCI. For most agents, if I sat down with you, the majority of your business is not from cold leads. But do you know what people spend a lot of money on cold leads don't do? They don't spend money on their past clients and centers of influence where all of their business comes from. See, the challenge in real estate is this. It is your own brain and your own psychology. You know, Wayne, your brain will always tell you we should do something more. You should try something new. What we're doing, if we don't change it, it's not going to work. But we don't look at the reality and the numbers of our business to really understand where our business is coming from and where we should be spending money. Some of you, when you're doing this, realize you're not spending enough money or any money. The pendulum swings both ways. Now, before I go to the next thing, I'm going to type this in here. Let's see. Based on what we just shared, will you change the way you approach investing in lead gen? That's the question. Going forward, knowing what you now know, will you all change the way that you invest in things, the way you track them, the way you think about them, and the way you have everything set up? So for a lot of us, that's yes, right? So make sure before you invest a dollar that you have a proper tracking system in place. Because if not, you end up spending money. And what happens is you put good money behind bad money, right? They always say sometimes you just have to cut your losses, stop putting good money behind bad money. That's what happens with this. You'll do this for 6 months. You don't have any idea what's going on. You're like, I'm going to keep doing this because I'll get one deal and then I'll stop. You're never going to get that deal because you don't have the proper systems in place. Now, the other thing is in understanding tracking and lead gen is do you have the right follow-up systems in place? Are you thinking through this properly? Now, let's go to the next section, marketing, branding, and social. Now, there is always a large amount of confusion around this, a lot. Now, let's talk about what this is and what this isn't. No real estate math. What is real estate math? It's exactly what we're talking about in the slide before. I send out 1,000 postcards. I get 3 people to reach out to me. I have 1 appointment and 1 sale. Do you know how many times people tell me all the time that I'm spending all this money on marketing and branding and I'm not getting anything in return? But that's not the point of all this. It's not a lead generation campaign. It's part of a much bigger strategy. So if you look at a person today, think about their decision-making matrix. How many different things do you do before you make a decision? Do you check people's social media? Do you look them up on LinkedIn? One of the things that I like to do as part of my decision-making matrix on hiring employees is I like to go onto their Venmo transactions. You can find out a lot of interesting things for people that use Venmo all the time because they send these things, they make them public, they write stupid things in the comment. I guarantee you none of them would want their employers or potential employers to know these things. But when you're spending money on great marketing, branding, and social, it's part of someone's decision-making matrix. Now, if you are investing in this, do you have a solid strategy around this? If you're investing money in marketing, branding, social. Let me ask you guys a question. How many people here are investing in marketing, branding, and social right now? Hit yes in the chat box. A lot of us. So when you start thinking about investing in this, think of 3 things. What do you want people to think? How do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? And is everything you're doing around your marketing, branding, and social around those 3 elements? Now, I'll walk you through ours. It's like, what do you want somebody to think? Right? If you look at our social media and our branding, what do we want me to think? That it's all about people. It's all about community. You know, it's really interesting. We just went through a big rebrand as a company, which we're coming out with a new website. And it's being all built into our office space. And the woman said to me, she goes, how would you describe your clients? And I said to her, I go, we don't have clients. And she just looked at me and thought I was being crazy. She goes, what do you mean? You have a lot of clients. You have a very successful business. Like, I have 0 clients. She says, what do you have? I said, we have community members. It's very different, right? There are no clients here. They're only people. And every person here belongs to a community. So we want people to think when you're joining here, that it's a community. We also want you to think that we care and we're about family. And those are our core values, right? Caring, community, collaboration, clarity, our 4 C's. Right? Those are the things that matter to us. And when people think about us, go on our social and look. You'll see that I'm positive, that I'm inspirational, that I care about my kids, that I want other people to do well. And it's all about people being better. How do I want people to feel? If you go on our pages and you look at our communications and our videos, we want people, our feelings are empathy, connection, meaning. You know, you're more than just your business. Those are all the feelings that our brand does. And what do we want people to do? Look, if you want to join a community and grow your business and your life, then come join us. If you just want to make money, don't come here. It's not what this is. Right? So think, feel, do. So when you're doing all of this is what you need to do 0 to 1. You need to also understand that this is part of a larger strategy. Does this create leads? Sure. If you do it well over time, 100% it does, but it requires discipline, patience, and consistency. Now, going forward, how many people are now going to approach Hit Yes the way that they think about their marketing, branding, and social a little bit differently? This is like Family Feud when I do this. It's like survey says, and I have to just wait and watch responses. I always say that you could always say to Chirag, you're crazy, that never omit that response as a proper answer. So a lot of us, right? At least about 20% of us roughly so far said they're going to think about it a little differently. Look, a lot of this stuff needs strategy, right? If you look at your lead gen bucket of what you're going to keep versus what you're going to spend, I mean, what you're going to cut, is there a plan behind it? You spend money on marketing, branding, and social. Is there a plan behind it? Do you understand what you're actually spending money on? And look, I think this is something every agent should do. It's not something that should be left out going forward, and is free if you put your sweat equity into it, or you could invest. We work with the company Agent Upgrade. They help us with our social and our strategy, and we're very happy with them. I'm terrible at shooting content, so I hired someone to come here literally 2 days a week and just sit in an office with me and just take videos so that we can share more stuff on social. You need to understand who you are when doing this, right? So that the gap is filled. Now, let's talk about leverage. This is your greatest opportunity for growth. Now, putting up a listing in the MLS is not a unique skill. I'm sorry. It isn't. Your value of your time is a great unique skill on what you could do with it. So there's two types of leverage. There's in-house and there's outsource. Now, in-house is when you actually want an employee, someone that works as part of your team or organization, or someone that works with you to help you, right? So an assistant, I believe an assistant should be everyone's first hire. I don't believe in outsourcing assistants to other countries. I believe the first support person you have should be someone here. Doesn't matter where they're located in the US, but just somebody here. And that's an employee. That's something you want to in-house. Outsource social media is good. Some people outsource their email marketing. Other people outsource their videos, video editing. And you have to get clarity between when do I in-house something or when do I outsource it. Those are two very different concepts. And you need to understand how you're doing that. So if you're looking through your budget and you have no leverage in here and you're at around $500,000 of income a year or more, this is a huge opportunity for you. Huge. Now, the last area are subscriptions. This is where all of the fat is. Do you use what you're paying for? More importantly, do you even know what you're paying for? Go to subscriptions, go to services like Truebill, and they'll pull all your subscriptions out for you. They're hundreds of dollars a month in your budget here. Do you know how much stuff the average American subscribes to that has no idea what they're even doing? And a lot of these things are little, so they slow bleed you out. Think about it. Go through all of your subscriptions, both personal and professional, and see where you can get rid of stuff. Now, who's ready for keep it or cut it? Now, watch how this is going to work. All right, before I go forward with this, are you guys all clear on how to think through those core four? Just let me get a yes. I need 100 of you to write this so I know I didn't leave anybody behind. Because again, it's not about the what, it's about how to do it, right? So what success looks like for me at the end of the session is that any area in your budget, Omar, you can think through and be like, okay, I'm spending money on this. Here's my process of doing this. So I understand, is this a good investment? Is this not a good investment? Am I even ready to make a decision because I'm not tracking anything? So about a third of you have said yes. And I bet 2/3 of you might not answer no matter what I say. So let's go to keep it or cut it. Now, the way it's going to work is this. I need the first few people to volunteer. They'll come on live. I'll ask some questions, and we're going to literally rapid fire through doing this. So, who wants to go first? Mark Assad raised his hand. I love a good rule follower. All right, Mark. All right, Mark, unmute yourself.
All right, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me? Okay.
Shoot, what's your question?
Okay, so my question is, I think you've answered it with today's lesson so far. We spend about $2,600 a month on print ads, and we've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and we feel like we're getting good, progress on it. But it's looking like it's almost a third of our budget for marketing. And based on what you were talking about, feel, think, do. We do have a plan, so we were really pushing this print ad for 2 years, and now we're starting to bring in the social media underneath it. We hired Agent Upgrade to manage our social media as well, and that's our next biggest expense.
So, what is your question?
So, do we keep going with the print ads and just keep layering, or do we start drawing back on the print ad?
So print, marketing, social, and all these marketing and branding things, they're supplements, right? So I'll give you an example. If you're geographically farming, say I live in the Greens Farm section of Westport, right? So say this is my farm, so I'm sending mail. I'm doing events. These are my past clients. Now, if I supplemented print ads, targeted social media ads, and everything like that. Again, remember we talked about their decision-making matrix. They're good supplements. When people, like the first area to cut it, right, you might be able to scale some of them back depending on how wide it is. But if you spent 2 years doing it, now you're supplementing with social and social ads, then keep going with it, right? Because it's about going deep, not going wide. So if you've spent time building a relationship, start looking into campaign this out to make sure the think, feel, and do all align, and ultimately where you're looking to get these people. Because if I spent 2 years doing print ads, what I would do is I would take some of those print ads I had and I would drive these people to a live event in some point in the fourth quarter. So now you could start taking those cold mailers and start building them into warm relationships. So I'd say keep it, but have some more purpose to it.
Thank you.
No problem. Leticia, you're up next.
Yeah, so mine is also related, I guess, to branding. I'm spending about for digital ads. One of them is $375, where it's focused around through lead gen, and it's basically zip code based. And then the second one is also branding for sphere of influence, and they're also digital ads. I spend about $67 a month just to go to my sphere of influence.
So quickly, sphere of influence, 100% keep it.
Okay.
Now, every single person on here, I would encourage everyone to find a program or something to run consistent digital ads, changing them out monthly to your sphere. It is so cheap to do, no problem. Now, the lead gen stuff, now pay attention to this, guys, all really carefully. For the lead gen stuff, there are a lot of different variables that people don't pay attention to in doing this. So if you have a lead gen and someone's sending it to it, they're generally going to like a squeeze page, a landing page, or something like that. So number one, you want to track your response time. What is your average time between the time I fill out a form to the time you could respond? The second thing is do you have 6 to 10 touch points set up for the people? Right? In cold leads, you might need to reach out to them 2 to 3 times in the first day, another time in the second day, mixing up phone, email, text. It is very demanding on converting cold leads. So you want to make sure that before you decide to keep it or cut it, number one is do you have all these things in place? Number two, if you do have them in place and you can measure what matters. Number three, if you don't, do you really even want to put the time into doing this? Right? If you look at doing cold leads, compare it to your data spreadsheet and realize, is this something I'm trying to supplement onto my business, or am I at a place in my business where I'm really trying to build out my database and I'm newer? Which one is it for you?
Sorry, what was the question?
Are you looking to use this lead gen to supplement your current business or build a book of business? Are you just starting out?
Just starting out. I just realized in just talking to you, I don't have all those measuring that you're indicating. I've been with them probably for about 6 months. but haven't really generating any leads from it. And like you said, I don't have any of those measures. So yeah.
Got it. So let's build out the measuring, right? Make sure all your touch points are done. Give it another 90 days to see if any of them convert. And the other thing, it's really important to have all those touch points. Remember, if you look at what's going on in the world today, there is a lot of uncertainty. So people that are looking online for homes, you already know that they don't know how to make a decision, right? So if you know that, we need to be able to have long-term incubation in place for these people. Is this helpful for all of you to actually hear how to do this live like this? Hit yes if you want the whole session on this tomorrow, just so I have an idea of where everybody is. Because then we can just rapid fire through people throughout the entire session. Okay, someone else raise their hand and I'll call on you. Who's next? Is there no one that? Okay, here we go. Kansas. Where is Kansas? There we go. Hello, good morning there in sunny San Diego.
Sunny San Diego.
What's your question?
It is sunny. So I do have a lead generating system I've had for years, and I did my the sales data sheet, which I love, the graphs, how it turns into charts. It's probably my biggest motivation, is so I can look at the charts. So my client source from this lead generation is 14.3%. And my client GCI is for the leads is 24.9% as of
That's
this year.
That's great. So what are you buying with your money?
Well, I mean, they're not Zillow, it's Sync, CINC, and they're Google ads. And I have a website, and if they're looking to buy in Rancho Santa Fe, they click, because I have they click on my website and they go there and they have to fill out a form, and then so what do I do about it? Quite honestly, I do absolutely nothing. I don't make those calls. It's terrible, and it actually does the work for me most of the time, because you're absolutely right. They stay in the funnel, or else they quit. I did have an agent making some calls. That's harder to find an agent that will do this than if I just let the system do it, if that makes sense. I could get more money. I could get more leads out of it, or convert more leads if I was willing to do it, but I'm not. But it's paying for itself. So that's kind of the dilemma, is it works for me. It's like my own assistant. It does all the touch points for me, except for calling. It texts and everything. So it's working. It's paying for itself. I'm not in the red, and I hate doing it. That's the truth. But I've owned it long enough. My question is, what's your point of view about whether it's worth keeping or cutting?
Well, I'll tell you this, whether I hate it or not, right? I'm spending money, and there's obviously, look at the ROI return, right? Look at how much money. There's a simple thing. I spend blank amount of money every month, and I get Y amount of money in return. Yeah. So if it's making up 1 out of every 4 sales, it looks like financially it makes sense to do. Right now, again, when you get to a point in your life how much you hate doing things versus doing things that you love, the whole goal of these systems, they're top of funnel. You start filling the funnel, you turn cold leads into warm leads into clients, and then you need to nurture those people and get them into like your actual past client centers of influence system, so you start referring your business. Most people will do this to get to a certain point, but they don't even think about it. When I get here, I'm going to stop doing this because I've gotten as many clients. And there are other people, Candace, that can just keep doing it forever. They don't care. They like the money, and it's good.
There's something that I'm wrestling with. So this is one of my core 4. I pay $1,000 a month, so it's $12,000 a year. which is less than 25% of I just paid a $50,000 referral fee for a Compass agent. So 25% referral fee to a Compass agent, or paying $1,000 a month. I just converted something and got a $45,000 check, and I closed in 3 weeks. It's hard to say. I mean, actually, one of my core 4 is Compass referrals, but I pay 25% for that referral. When in this, I pay $1,000 a month. But my question about that is would I look at it as a monthly spend in regard to the relationship to referrals paid, or would I look at it as a year spend, $12,000? So if I close a sync lead, is my—
Yeah, I would look at it in 2 ways, right? Number one, I would aggregate my spend, right? So if you're spending $1,000 a month, every single person here would agree that I would spend $1,000 a month if an agent, if I called you today and I said, I'll give you a client for 25%, every single person would say yes,
Yeah.
right? So it's really simple in that sense. So look, to summarize this, I would keep it, right? And I would just make sure that you had a proper plan for what you're doing next, right? And that is the essence of where I would go. So that is our time for today. I think everyone got a good nugget from Kansas on that sync system that does the work for you. Someone put the link in there. So Kansas is in San Diego. So if you want to know more about this, I would reach out to her. And going forward, look, everyone, we're going to spend a whole day doing this tomorrow, so you can really start understanding how to think through doing this, right? And for everyone here that's a new agent, look, in new agents, your business is very different. It's experience over money is where this all is, right? And I would be going to doing as many open houses. If you're signing up for Zillow as a new agent, the way that you're thinking through this is ultimately, what can I learn in this process, right? You're learning how to have conversations. You're learning how to follow up with people. You're learning how to close people. You're learning how to handle objections. So there's a lot more you're getting out of it than just the money you're putting in. And realize that your business is sequential in the way that you build your blocks, right? And a lot of people are just looking for transactions. And I don't think you realize like how valuable those skills and experiences you have quantified over time are, regardless of what you are. Because if I was a new agent, the biggest opportunity I'd see is having conversations with people, because there are people that are in the business 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that still can't handle objection when someone wants to cut their commission, or someone says that they have a friend in the business, or someone says, I need to think about it, right? So start thinking about this and realize, like, when you're spending money on stuff, there's also experience that you're getting in it. And based on where your business wants to go, that experience has value to it. So try not to think about things transactionally. Try to start thinking about them from the macro and strategically. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. I hope everyone has a great day. And we will see you all tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel, 9:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. Bye, everybody.